Hi, I'm Gidon from thetechnologyman.com. The RAVPower FileHub is a clever gadget that has two main uses. It can be used as a wireless hard drive for your smartphone or tablet, or it can back up your camera's SD cards when you're on the move. With storage on smartphones and tablets always at a premium, especially with Apple devices which have no expansion options, this former use is of particular interest to many. The basic idea is you plug in a USB drive or an SD card into the portable, battery-powered FileHub. The FileHub broadcasts its own Wi-Fi network, which you connect to from your smartphone or tablet. You can then browse your attached storage like it's directly attached using a free app. You can stream even large media files directly in the app, or you can transfer files between the attached storage and your device. And with this latest version from RAVPower, which supports 802.11ac at 5 GHz, the transfer speeds are actually pretty good. The FileHub also does a lot more. It can be configured as a wireless access point, a bridge or a router, and it's also a portable charger with a useful 6,700 mAh battery. So let's take a closer look. The FileHub comes with a RAVPower branded 60cm flat micro USB cable and a 46-page English user manual, which is surprisingly comprehensive but not particularly easy to follow. It looks quite smart with a modern design and a matte finish. It's a little heavier than I was expecting at just under 200 grams, but it's quite compact, about the size of a USB hard drive, just a little thicker. The top of the unit has 5 LEDs. Some of them have various meanings, but in the main, the first LED indicates a connection to the internet, the second and third LEDs identify which wireless radios are enabled, the SD card LED comes on when an SD card is inserted, and the battery light shows the status of the charge. Steady indicates more than 30% charge remaining, red when there's less than 30% charge, and flashing red with less than 10% charge remaining. Down from the LEDs is the power button. If you just press the power button, the battery light comes on and you can use the FileHub as a portable charger. But it took me a few minutes to realise you need to hold the power button down until the battery icon flashes to turn the unit on properly, something the manual doesn't mention. The wireless light will flash and then go steady when the unit is ready to connect. A long press of the power button also turns it off. At the end of the FileHub, a flap reveals 3 ports. There's a USB port for attaching USB thumb drives or portable hard drives. When a storage device is attached, the wireless lights will flash and then go steady when the drive has been recognised. Or you can charge gadgets off this port, although it only has a 1 amp output, which means it would struggle with tablets, but it's fine for most other devices. The internal 6,700 mAh battery should charge an average smartphone at least twice. Next, there's a micro USB port for charging the FileHub using the included cable. There's no wall charger in the box, but if you use a tablet charger or something similar, it does support charging up to a decent 2 amps. The battery light flashes whilst charging. You could also run it off this port, but the manual warns of damage to the internal battery if you use a USB port at the same time. You can also use this port for attaching micro USB devices like micro USB thumb drives, but I don't have any to try out. On the right there's an Ethernet port for using the FileHub as a wireless access point or router. In between the micro USB port and the Ethernet port there's a reset hole. Poke a paperclip or something similar straight through the hole and hold for around 10 seconds to factory reset the device. Around the side we have a Wi-Fi mode button to cycle between 2.4 GHz, 5 GHz and a dual 2.4 plus 5 GHz mode. Press and hold the button for a few seconds to change mode. I'd recommend switching to the dual mode to start with. Press and hold the button and the wireless LED will go off and the 5G LED will flash. The unit is now switching to 5 GHz mode. Wait until the 5G LED goes steady and then press and hold the button again. Both wireless lights will flash and then go steady when the unit is ready to connect with both radios available. It's quite slow switching between modes. Next we have the SD card slot, which will support cards up to 2TB SDXC. The wireless lights will flash while it recognises the card and then they'll go back to steady and the SD light will come on. Lastly, there's the one key backup button. With an SD card and a USB drive attached and all lights steady, press and hold this button for about 5 seconds until the SD card indicator starts flashing. The complete contents of the SD card will be copied to the dated folder inside an SD backup folder on the USB drive. It's done when the SD light stops flashing. My main interest in the FileHub is for wireless storage. You can access any device connected to FileHub using the free FileHub app from RAVPower. First, download the app to your phone or tablet. It's available on iOS and Android. As I described earlier, turn the FileHub on, change the wireless mode to dual 2.4 GHz plus 5 GHz and attach some storage, either via the SD card slot or the USB port or both. Storage drives can have various file systems, but fortunately the FileHub doesn't care too much what you have connected. FAT32, NTFS, exFAT file systems are officially supported, but I found macOS formatted drives also worked. I'd recommend using exFAT if you have the option. Wait for the wireless LEDs to stop flashing. Open Wi-Fi settings on your tablet or smartphone and connect to the FileHub's 5 GHz Wi-Fi if your device supports it. Otherwise, just use a 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi, which will be the only network you'll see. By default, the 5 GHz SSID will start with RAV-FileHub-5G, and the 2.4 GHz will start with RAV-FileHub-2G. By default, the password is 8 ones. Open the FileHub app. If you get a prompt to choose a device, just tap OK. I'm on an iPad, so the app may look slightly different on other devices. At the top of the screen, you can view details of the attached storage. You can see how much storage is available, and you can swipe between drives if you have an SD card and a USB drive connected. Tap on File Management and you'll see the attached storage drives listed. You can then browse the folders as if they were attached locally. The app has pretty good file support. I could play many files right inside the app, including photos, videos, PDFs, and even Word documents are opened, although formatting is lost. Support for video files seems especially good, playing MP4 files as well as MKV files off my Plex library. Large video files start streaming within a few seconds, although there was a lot of stuttering with some 4K files from my Panasonic G85, but they did play. Also, RAW files aren't recognised, but I'll discuss shortly how you can deal with files not supported in the app. At the bottom of the screen, you can switch between remote storage on the FileHub and local storage on the iPad in this case. You can even browse the Photos library on iOS, and there's a Documents folder that is accessible in the Apple Files app in the RAVPower folder under On My iPad. You can create folders within this Documents folder too. The most useful feature to me is being able to copy large files across to my iPad, even if it's just temporarily. Perhaps a large video file to work on in LumaFusion, or some raw photos to work on in Lightroom or Affinity Photo. For smaller files like RAW files, you can use the Share extension on iOS at least to open them in another app. For example, long press on a RAW file to select it, tap Share and choose, in my case, Copy to Lightroom. Or you could choose to Save to Files and choose where you want to save this file to open later. For larger files, I prefer to explicitly download files I want to work on. Long press on a file and select other files as need be. This works on folders too, or you could just tap on Multi-Select. Then tap Copy To and choose where you want to paste them on the internal storage. In this case, I'll create a LumaFusion folder to copy this video file to. Tap on New Folder, create the folder, and then paste the file into the folder. Keep the FileHub near your device for large files to get the very best speed. You can then open LumaFusion, say, browse iCloud storage under Sources, and locate the downloaded file under the RAVPower folder. Using the FileHub for wireless storage can be a lifesaver for file formats that Apple doesn't recognise, like some video formats from Sony cameras for instance. If these can't be imported via the Apple SD card reader, the FileHub is one option for getting them across to your iPad or iPhone. I imagine most people would buy the FileHub for wireless storage as I've just described, and also for the one-touch backup. But it is also a travel router and a portable power bank, and there are a couple of other features worth mentioning. As a power bank, it's nothing special, as I alluded to earlier. The battery capacity of 6,700 mAh is useful, but you can get much smaller power banks with similar capacity. It only has one output and it's slightly limited at 1 amp, so not much good for devices with large batteries like tablets that generally require at least 2 amps. Still, it powers a unit and it's useful to have. One handy feature is as a portable wireless access point. For example, in a hotel room where perhaps you only have an Ethernet connection, you can just plug the Ethernet cable into the FileHub. There shouldn't be any further setup as long as you're connecting to a fairly standard network. The internet LED on the FileHub should light up. You can then get wireless internet access via the FileHub, and others can connect wirelessly too. And you can still access files off the attached storage using the app as before. You can also use the FileHub as a wireless bridge. This is a useful mode for general use too, since it means you still get internet access while connected to the FileHub. In this mode, it connects wirelessly to your existing wireless network. It then broadcasts its own wireless signal, so you can connect to it as before, but you also have the internet access off your normal Wi-Fi network. You need to be in 2.4 GHz or dual Wi-Fi mode, otherwise this won't work. Connect to the FileHub as normal. In the RAVPower app, tap on Settings, the cog in the top right, then Wi-Fi Disk Settings, Internet Settings. The FileHub will scan surrounding networks. Tap on your Wi-Fi network and enter the password. You'll get a couple of messages, but just click through them. You should notice the Internet LED now lit, and you can now access the Internet as well as browse your files. Theoretically, you should be able to extend your Wi-Fi range using this method, but I didn't find the range particularly good. I even tried using 2.4 GHz, which should have a longer range, but I didn't find a huge difference. Even in an ideal environment, this will still reduce your wireless speeds. The final mode of the FileHub is as a router, connecting it to an ADSL or cable modem. I'm not able to test this out, but I imagine it'd be okay for very occasional use. There are a couple of other features worth mentioning. You can set up your FileHub as a DLNA media server so that devices like smart TVs or apps on your tablet that support DLNA can stream media from your FileHub. You need to configure this via a web browser. Whilst connected to the FileHub, enter 10.10.10.254. You can still do this on your tablet or phone. Tap Login using the default admin username and empty password. Tap on Settings, Services, DLNA Service. You can call it what you like. Select the attached storage you want to use, then select the directory with your media on it. Then click Save. You'll notice even the FileHub app's home screen now works as it should, with the various media types now being populated. Or even better, download the free VLC player, tap on Local Network and tap on the DLNA server. I also tried it with a Roku set-top box. Choose the Roku media player and you'll see the FileHub DLNA server listed. Remember that if you're not directly connecting to the FileHub, you'll need to make sure the FileHub is connected to your home network as I described earlier, if you want to connect via your smart TV or Roku. It's worth mentioning that it's a good idea to make the device secure by at least adding a password for the admin account and changing the Wi-Fi password. From the FileHub app's home screen, tap Settings, System Settings, User Settings. Tap back twice and set a password for both the 2.4 GHz network under Wi-Fi settings and the 5 GHz network under Wi-Fi disk settings (5G). You can also turn the guest user off. You'll then need to cycle the Wi-Fi mode or turn the unit off and on, and then go to Settings on your phone or tablet and choose Forget this network for any FileHub connections you've made. Wireless storage is of course never going to be as quick as connecting a device with a cable, and unfortunately there is no way to do this with the FileHub. As a benchmark, I completed a transfer over a USB card reader using the Lightning port on an iPad. I'm quoting transfer speed in megabytes per second. If you want to get the equivalent speed in megabits per second, just multiply these numbers by 8. So the basic USB card reader achieved an 18 megabytes per second transfer speed. For good measure, I also measured the speed using the Apple USB 3 Lightning adapter attached to a USB 3 capable iPad Pro and got 75 megabytes per second. But wireless speeds using the faster 5 GHz 802.11ac Wi-Fi to a compatible device are still pretty decent. Downloading a 1GB file to my iPad, which has 802.11ac, took 93 seconds, which works out at around 11 megabytes per second. Copying around 1GB of smaller RAW plus JPEG files from an SD card, unsurprisingly, was a little slower at 9 megabytes per second, but that was better than I was expecting. So the speeds are nowhere near the advertised 433 megabits per second, which equates to 54 megabytes per second, but are still quite usable. Using the far more convenient File Browser business app, I was also able to access the FileHub, but the transfer speeds were far lower. I only got about 3.4 megabytes per second, a third of the speed. This was the same access in the drive from LumaFusion. Transfer speeds were even slower at around 3 megabytes per second. Uploading a 1GB file took over twice as long at 210 seconds. That's 4.9 megabytes per second. Using an Android Samsung Tab A, which only has 5 GHz 802.11n, the 1GB file took 123 seconds to download, or 8.3 megabytes per second. I also tested the speed connecting via the slower 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi mode and got a download speed of 7.4 megabytes per second, around 50% slower than with the 5 GHz. I also set up a share on a MacBook Pro connected via Gigabit Ethernet to my SkyQ 802.11ac router. With the iPad next to the router, I used the File Browser app to download the same 1GB file. This surprisingly took longer than with the FileHub, 134 seconds or 7.6 megabytes per second. The RAVPower FileHub fared well in these tests. The top speed of 11 megabytes per second is really quite usable even for large files, but still be prepared to go and do something else while you have lots to download. You will need to use RAVPower's FileHub app for the very best speeds, but I'm happy that you can also use the far more convenient File Browser app if you need to. Finally, I measured the speed of SD card backups from a fast SanDisk Extreme 90 megabytes per second card to a 128GB SanDisk iExpand USB 3 flash drive. The single 1GB file took 61 seconds at 16.8 megabytes per second. 84 photos, a combination of RAW and JPEG files totaling just over 900 megabytes, copied in 81 seconds at 11.3 megabytes per second. That's not particularly quick, but RAVPower only spec a maximum speed of 14 to 18 megabytes per second for this. So for larger files at least, that's within spec and is still a convenient feature. The FileHub has so many different functions that battery life will entirely depend on how you use it. But battery life is listed as 8.4 hours of playtime over 2.4 GHz and 6 hours over 5 GHz. In general use, you'll get much more time out of it, and I found battery life to be very good. At least a good day of fairly intense usage. The RAVPower FileHub is a very useful accessory. It is reasonably priced at around £55 or $60, although I'd like to see it come down to the price of the cheaper, confusingly named FileHub Plus, which is around £40 or $40. That version is only 2.4 GHz. I do think it's worth paying the extra for the faster 5 GHz download speeds. And the cheaper model doesn't have the button for the one-touch backup, which I quite like, although I'd always recommend checking the files have copied across OK using the app before deleting anything. I wouldn't buy the device for any of the additional features it has, like doubling as a powerbank or travel router, but they are handy, especially the Ethernet port for turning it into a wireless access point. The app is not the prettiest or most intuitive, but it was quite reliable with only one crash in some fairly thorough testing. And once I got used to it, I found I could get done what I needed quickly and then switch to the Apple Files app or the File Browser app. There are other options like the WD Wireless Pro and the NAR box, but they are mostly significantly more expensive and don't have some of the additional features the FileHub has. They do come with their own storage, so if you don't already own a decent sized external drive, you'll have to factor that in. For example, if you were going to buy the FileHub and a 1TB USB drive, that would cost around £100 or $100. The 1TB WD Wireless Pro cost £135 or $135, so not a lot more. Overall, I would recommend the FileHub to anyone wanting easy access to wireless storage. There are free ways to do this if you're on your home or work Wi-Fi using shared storage on your network, as I showed in a previous video, but this is more convenient, easier to set up and faster in my tests. And it's a fully portable solution for when you're out and about. I would like transfers to be faster, especially uploading, and if there was a way of connecting it to your tablet or phone using a cable for faster transfers, that would be even better. I hope you found this video useful. Please like the video if you did, and if you have any questions, please comment down below. I'm releasing videos every week on making the most of your technology, so please subscribe if you're interested. It will also really help the channel grow, and don't forget to tap the bell icon to get notified as soon as a video gets uploaded. Thanks for watching.